Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Church in New Bedford. I am Eileen Sorrentino, and I am the worship assistant today with Eli Dorsey, who is our late preacher. Eli and I sit on the Social Justice Committee. We are a beloved community of people who believe that everyone is worthy of respect. Science is real, the democratic process is a sacred thing, that we are all part of an interconnected web, and that the light and energy we share and put out makes a difference in the world. We are a people of purpose, and if what you hear today resonates with you, we hope that you will consider becoming part of our Way Cool family of seekers and keepers of this long dream that is our church. If you are new, there is a blue card in the, and you're interested in more information, there is a blue card in your pew which you can fill out and put in the basket when the offertory comes. We have a coffee hour after the service, so please come and join us. I understand there's pea soup. We're live streaming, so remember when you come up to the microphone to speak, please speak directly into the microphone and remember that there could be thousands of people out there listening. Please put your phones in worship mode so we don't get interrupted. And I'm going to ask Eli to light the chalice. These are words from Albert Schweitzer. I'm sorry, Brody is going to light the chalice. Hi, Brody. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Offering words, yes.
Good morning, church. Wonderful. People are speaking, and we see little people. Oh, boy, you know we're cooking with gas, as they say in the old-fashioned stuff. A lot of things to talk about today. It's a very interesting time. As the man said, we live in interesting times. So, on this new day, we offer our thanks. Yes, we do. We offer our thanks for the love we have for one another. And now especially we petition the source of that love to bestow wisdom on the world and on our church. We ask for the sharing of the generosity of the Spirit with one another. Where's Randy? Oh, up there? Okay, I guess we're getting music. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we have a hymn now.
The opening hymn.
Yeah,
the opening hymn is number 18.
That's right.
What Wondrous Love. Tony?
Okay, so now it's time for the unison reading of the covenant. Right? If we could read this together, please. We come together
as a
religious community, upholding freedom of conscience, right relationship, and the inherent worth of all people. We value our diversity and pledge to care for one another in the spirit of compassion, to speak and listen to each other, respect, and to promote justice and kindness in the world.
Now is the time in our service when we share our joys and concerns. If you have something you would like to share, please come to the mic.
Yes, you want to take it?
Oh, okay, sorry. I didn't realize we had a Sunday school this week. So the children are going off to Sunday school. Hello. Okay, so now is the time when we share our joys and concerns. So if you'd like to come forward, please come to the mic, and remember to speak right into the mic so that the people who are streaming can hear you.
Hi. Last night I was listening to a YouTube video just before I went to bed, and I happened to find one by Arlo Guthrie. Now, I'm sure most of you know who Arlo Guthrie is, and know that he was the son of Woody Guthrie, who pretty much founded folk music. And at the beginning, Arlo Guthrie often speaks through his songs. And so at the beginning, he was saying that he had heard a song by Lady Gaga. And in it, she was singing some of his father's music. And he was so impressed. And then later on, he was following the headlines and noticed that they said, Lady Gaga was singing a subversive song. Well, exactly. And he said, when it comes to the point where this land is your land, this land is my land, is subversive, we're all in deep doo-doo. That's not the word he used, but I won't.
Good morning. My name is Nicole. Good morning. Good morning. I'm very emotional. I have a concern and a joy, and they're one and the same. Those two little children are my twins, little boy and little girl. And Annabelle recently was rushed to Boston Children's by ambulance for life-saving surgery. The joy is that she's recovering. She's learned to walk again, and she should have a relatively healthy life from here on in. But any prayers that you may offer for her continued healing, we would be most grateful for. Thank you.
Even before Nicole spoke, my joy was to see the children in the church. So that's really one joy. And the other joy I have is that the election went so smoothly. Thank you.
So as is our custom, I will light 2 candles, one for the joys and concerns that people did not express today, and the other for people who have yet to find a place to worship.
Thank you, Randy. So now, we come to the fun part, and that is, the reading, right? Where am I? Oh, I see, my own notes. Can you hear me okay through the, is it, okay? Okay, you got it? Okay, right, okay. So now, these are some thoughts that I had that I thought would be appropriate for now. And I want a church that acts locally and thinks globally on the great issues of our day: world peace, women's rights, racial justice, homelessness, the poor and the rich, gay, lesbian, and trans rights, and the earth we live on. That's the kind of church I want. I want a church that provides comfort and support so I can carry on when difficult things happen in life or in the world, when times are hard. I want the church to be my safe place. Right? I want a church that thinks, you've heard this before from other people. I want a church that thinks 7 generations ahead. That's our future. And now, it's time for a meditation. So quietly think about these ideas and think about peace inside yourself. Thank you, Randy. Can you hear me okay? Everybody? Okay, fine. I get up here, I get air sickness. All right, too many flying swans. All right. Okay, so now we're going to do a little call and response. All right, and that is the responsive reading. It's number 558 in your text, but we also have it here in your program. Right? And please respond with the bold type. I'll begin. This is a special reading today. It's called For Everything a Season. For everything a season. And that will guide us in our sermon and our discussions today. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to keep, and a time to throw away. A time to keep silence, and a time to speak. A time for war, and a time for peace.
So our next hymn is actually 219. I think it's misprinted in the order of service. It's "O Hear My People." Now is the time in our service when we ask for your generous contributions toward the good works of this church, of which there are many. Thank you for your generosity.
That was beautiful, Randy. Thank you. Can we hear me okay? Okay, okay. Now the fun part is, this is the sermon. This is the the lifting of the spirit. I don't know, I have to tell you that when I was preparing this in the middle of the week, if Sarah were here, she'd tell you, well, Karen, I was having fun with it. I wanted to write the end of days because we were looking at, and of course I got a call from Karen and she said, nope, that's it. We're not doing that. And so I was just being a little satirical with it. But I realized that as the week ended, things started to improve in terms of the national political scene. So I was rather euphoric about it. And I got caught up in it. But then my 438 years on this planet being cynical, I said, wait a minute, let me look under the cover. I need to think about this a little further. And so my sermon today is going to be quixotic in that sense, and that's why I picked Ecclesiastes 3 to remind everyone that there's a time and a place for everything that happens. But everything that happens changes. You must always be aware of that and not get lost in the hoopla. Think the way Unitarians think. So I begin. The results of trickling in. And it seems that the fascistic authoritarian forces did not score a major victory. Our citizens instead held back the flood, and the country prevailed. At the same time, wars of greed and power are ongoing. Racism, religious-inspired sexism and misogyny, ethnic cleansing, environmental horror, and the exponential growth of the poor run amok. Victory? What victory? You can hear the devil sneering. Where is your God now? In a vote? Has Wall Street disappeared? Victory? Really? For those of you who do not believe that there is a devil, and for those of you that do, whether metaphorically or literally, I have a message. Today is a new day. Today is a new day. Do not lose sight of that. This is a new day. We did not run away. We did not break. We did not fall to our knees and surrender. We stood strong. We pushed against the tide of oppression. We held each other in locked arms. We stood for our love of freedom and liberty. We did not go and hide under a rock. We did not break. We did not break. Sometimes the good is silent but strong, quiet but not devious, laid back but ready to stand. Sometimes the good celebrates victory in the solace of the heart, not in the roar of the crowd. For other battles are coming, and complacency, the enemy of the good, comes forth as a proxy for silence. Let us speak of these battles to come. We'll choose two. There are many. Let's choose two. But they're coming, and they are coming. Some of them will come from the very ranks that are celebrating today. The two are the seduction of capital and the curse of whiteness. These are hard subjects, but we can master them. Why speak of them? Hey, what's wrong with you? We just experienced an election. We should be speaking of that. That's it. We should be celebrating. What is wrong with you? Raining on our parade. What's wrong? Pessimism is uncalled for and out of place. We'll continue to dance in euphoria. This election, church, rested on capital and whiteness. Capital and whiteness scored partial victories. Oh, what are you saying? The Democrats won. We had all this stuff. We won in Arizona and New Mexico and all these other places. You know, what are you saying? We're at capital and whiteness scored partial victories. And I assure you, as we sit here tonight, that they are regrouping and preparing for the next battle while we're standing around celebrating. They're in their dark corners thinking of their next move. Boy, are you pessimistic, man. What is wrong with you? What's the matter? Don't you have puppies or something to play with in the morning? What's wrong with you? Why did capital score so well? Look at all the money spent to keep the public misdirected away from the plight of the poor. Did you hear the poor discussed in this election? We're a church Our obligation is to, with the corporal works of mercy, clearly, we care about the poor every day. But did you hear the poor discussed in this election? Why do that? If you start talking about the poor, you may start talking about the rich. And nobody wants to do that, who are rich. All right, if you have the poor, then you have the rich. Our lives, our lives as one side or the other. You can't have the rich without the poor. You can't have the poor without the rich. They are hand in hand, even though our economics textbooks don't speak that way. You cannot have one without the other. This entanglement, we know, is called capitalism, and all of us who have been to enough universities and enough discussions know that this is the case. Capitalism was one of the winners in this election. I'm saying this to caution you to look carefully and listen critically to those who preach victory. Why worry about capitalism? Capitalism posits that you can own a human. Why worry about capitalism? Well, capitalism posits that you can own a human being by owning their labor. It posits that the 14th Amendment of the Constitution does not fully pertain to women. If you don't believe that, then what do you think the Supreme Court decision this year was about? It's about taking away the 14th Amendment protections to women. That's where the argument was. People didn't want to talk about that, but that's what it was. It was about relegating every woman to second-class citizenship more bitterly than they have done in the past. It argues that might is right, that is that the goal of increased market share is the winner of all conflict. It retains power through fear. The fear of being poor. That's how it controls, no matter how affluent you may be. Do you want a good life for you and yours? Then that life must be absent any fear of you or yours being thrown into the street because you cannot pay a bill. Do you remember some people, some politicians saying, one of the things we're going to do when we get elected is we're going to do what? Cut Social Security and Medicare. Did you hear that? That's what these people were saying. Fear. I want you afraid. And of course, you start talking to senior citizens in their 70s and 80s, and you start talking to them about, I'm going to cut what? Your livelihood, the little piece that you have that keeps you in your home or in wherever you are. You know those senior citizens will do just about anything in terms of fear. You can control them through fear. How can you have a good life if you are constantly worried about paying bills? What kind of a life is that? Who wants to live like that? What kind of a life is that? Oh, we can hear the fake moralist preaching responsibility and the rest of that nonsense. Bah! To live is our responsibility, nothing more. To love our neighbor, nothing more. The rest of it is fluff. That's it. Fluff. A rabbit hole into self-contradiction and self-righteousness against one's neighbor. If I can find a way to get you to be afraid of your neighbor, I got you. If I can get into your head that Joe Dotes is going to take your stuff from you, I got your vote. And Mary really wants to do this, and George wants to do that, and that fellow over there with that black complexion or that brown complexion or that gal over there who's just gay or trans or whatever, if I can get you to be afraid of them, I got you. I got your vote. You'll do whatever I tell you to do. But I said today was a new day. So let me bring you a message that Paul probably did when he was in Damascus. We are. Everything begins there. Remember in my sermon, those of you who were here, a sermon on Job, and I talked about how black men in that garbage worker strike were walking down the street with that sign, I am a man. That sign was the message of true freedom and liberty, that no one can take you away from you. We are. Everything begins there. And here is the message. Capital has no power over you. Capital has no power over you. You're in a church that says, throw your best shot. We'll be standing tall after it's all over. Well, back to whiteness, though. We have to talk about whiteness a little bit simply because that's something we talk about. And we know what happened in this election. People didn't want to say it too loud, but racist tropes all over the map. We saw them in North Carolina. That sister should have won that election hands down. She lost by 2.4 points in North Carolina. And Stacey Abrams, how they did her. How they did her. Just an incredibly brilliant, powerful thinker. This real champion of change, this mover. Look how they did her. They had this man voting against her, and he was saying, segregation now, segregation forever. He was using code words, but that's what he was saying. And he won. 74% of white women who voted in Georgia voted for him and did not vote for Stacey Abrams. 3 brilliant, powerful, ethical black women and 1 black man, there was also other black women that I discovered later, lost to insidious fools. The fools preached stupidity and meaninglessness. They lied, and most everyone who voted for them knew the lies, and that's the big part. They knew that they were lying. Yet these voters voted for acquiescence, for melancholy and complacency. Better white than not white was their guiding principle. They needed to protect their phantasm that being white was real and not sociopathic dysfunction. You heard them in the deep caverns of hell. You heard them in the deep caverns of hell. White is right, white is right, white is right. You heard them in the deep caverns of hell. Sometimes, my dear brothers and sisters, the people in this church that I love, sometimes it's hard to love your neighbor. Sometimes. But even these fools, with their maliciousness, we still have to love them. There's no choice. Now, there were others we classify as white that were not culturally insane, that won and were righteous to benefit their neighbor. We applaud them. Also, some of these good people lost. We will help them heal. In our state of Massachusetts, the good won. Of course, the system will try to compromise and swallow them. You know that's what's going to happen. What happens when the good win and it surprises the capitalist? The capitalist says, well, okay, we're having a little dinner party tomorrow, and we'd like you to come, and we want you to meet Joe and Mary and Carl over here. They have $1 gajillion, and they would like to provide some nice things for you. You know that's the way they do it. They try to co-opt you, man. That's exactly what they'll try to do. But in order to protect them and protect ourselves, all right, we have to help them avoid that, resist that. So you can't lay back on your laurels and say, oh, gee, we won. There's nothing for us to worry about. Let's just go home and sleep and watch Idiot Vision. It's over now. No, it's not. It's just beginning. It's a new day. Your responsibilities are awesome now. Now you have to make sure that the victory is sustained, and that means you have to go after these politicians that won, and you have to be on their back every single day saying, hey, you know what, you won. You won because we're a democracy. You won because of the fact that we voted for you. You won because you're supposed to care about us, all right? That's why you won, and we're going to keep you honest and straight. And that's what you have to do. All right? So where do we go from here? Our clue is helping the good that lost heal. And helping those who won stay the course. Black people in this election won and lost. In this church, we need to become a refuge for healing and strength to love our neighbor honorably and ethically. This is something we have talked about in church a lot. That this church, what it has to offer is that we have the capacity to be a refuge for those who have need. That's our power, that's our strength. And anybody who walks through that door, we automatically say you are welcome. And we also say you are loved. And how can we help you? That is our strength, that is our power. Once we give that up and give in to nonsense, then we lose our goal, our purpose. Black people who have been injured must be able to come here and find spiritual and wholesome bandages to cover the wounds of white supremacy and its horrors. We must open ourselves to our community that so desperately needs us. Look at what we have. This incredible gift that we have as a church. It's selfish not to share it with those who need us. We have a lot to offer. But this is not a simple task. We have the challenges of capitalism, anti-racism, and the debunking of whiteness. Anti-racism appears to be the clearest. Here we address how whiteness hurts black and brown people, and also white women, obviously. All right? We look at the pain caused and seek remedies to prevent the recurrence of pain. We're saying, well, to be an anti-racist, means I'll stop hurting you. That's what it means. You appeal to people with power. Stop hurting me. You say, okay, I can change my behavior. I can look at how I'm doing things. Yeah, I'll stop doing that. Anti-racism works. You can do that. You can make that work. That's powerful. You can do that. There are resources from the UU, we've been talking about that, to help us, and several programs that we can consult. This is doable in a meaningful way. What I'm saying, my dear brothers and sisters of my church, is that we can put in place an effective anti-racism program. It'll work here. We can do that. That's much easier, right, than the other two that we're going to speak of. But the debunking debunking of whiteness will be very, very difficult. Why? How does a person de-white? How does a person de-white? What does that mean? How is it different from anti-racism? A conversation I recently had with someone I love might give a clue. I asked this colleague if from now on they could introduce their white family members as white. That is, I said, could you do the following? He said, "Hi, Joe, I want you to meet my white wife, Elizabeth." Can you do that? All of you here who are married to white people, which I guess is most people, can you go up to people and say, "This is my wife, this is my husband"? Yes? Hello. Hello, Mary. I want you to meet my white husband. Hello, John. I'd like you to meet my white wife. I want you to meet my white son. Can you do that? I asked this colleague if he could do this for a month. He tried it for 2 days. And then his wife became very uncomfortable with it, and it stopped. His wife said, "No, I'm not, it's too embarrassing. Don't do this anymore." I reported to him that the most difficult barrier between black and white people is overcoming the barrier whiteness sets up to deny the persona of a black person. Let me try to, I'm almost done with my sermon. Let me try to elaborate on that. It's like you're talking to a white person, and like this invisible filter comes between you two. And you both stop being human. You like are play acting with each other. And you both care about each other, but there's just this thing between you. It's this filter. And some people say it comes from the devil. That's it. Other people say things like that. But I can tell you, all my life, in my professional life, I have experienced that. There's just something about it that it doesn't allow us just to be human with each other. That's how whiteness works. And it's hard to work at that. But remember, the title of this sermon is, "This is a New Day." This is a new day. We'll get to that. Okay, I have experienced this filter at church here, and it has been a task not to scream at times. All right, yet I know how difficult it must be for a white person, not culturally insane, to de-white. Very hard person. And you're a white person, say, "What do you mean? What do you mean I shouldn't be white? How am I supposed to? What am I supposed to do? You know, you walking around. What am I supposed to do?" Now, we're going to work at all of this, and this church is going to fix things. More of this is our programs in social justice rollout. We have all kinds of things that we have planned in social justice with this church, and we're going to be rocking. This place is going to be a rocking church also. The last piece of our new day is the challenge of capitalism. First, and I'll be finished in a few minutes. Capitalism is a lie. Capitalism is a lie. It rests on fear and self-referential justification of profit. For those of you who are business people and whatnot, before you throw apples at me, this is what I want to say to you. Capitalism argues that profit is a function of profit. What? Yes. That's how capitalism talks. It says, and that profit is sacrosanct. There is no rational justification for profit. It's all made up. It's complete nonsense. Let me explain, and we'll be done in a minute. Profit is defined as the difference between revenue and expense or cost. But revenue is established to achieve profit, and cost is similarly set to achieve profit. Hence, profit is a function of revenue profit minus cost profit, or profit is a function of profit. It's complete nonsense. But the world is modeled by it. So, how do I end my sermon? I've talked about the victory. I've talked about the strength of citizens in this country to stand against the tide. I've talked about the partial victories of capitalism and whiteness. I've talked about the issues challenging our church in terms of generosity and opening up our hearts and our spirit. But most of all, my dear brethren and sisters, I feel that what I've talked about today is our capacity to love and to ensure that this day is a new day. We will not be fooled into complacency. This day gives us courage and strength to meet what is coming. We will succeed. We are capable of loving each other and our neighbor. We are capable of opening our doors and telling the community, come here. This is your safe place.
Our closing hymn is Oh, What a Piece of Work We Are, which is number 313 in your hymnal. Distinguish our chalice with these words: the courage of the early morning's dawning, and the strength of the eternal hills, and the peace of the evening's ending, and the love of God be in our hearts. I would like to mention that next Sunday is our annual Thanksgiving dinner. There's a sign-up sheet in the parish hall for people to bring things. And I hope you'll all come because we really have a good time. Last year, a young woman came from the community, and she had not eaten anything for 3 days. And she sat down, and she ate, and she ate, and she ate. And we sent her home with a care package. But I mean, it's a kind of event that people come from the highways and byways, so I hope you'll all come for it. And most people stay for the postlude. If you have to leave, please do it quietly and come for coffee in the parish hall. Thank you very much.